G'day, Tom and I both are here again. Bit of noise in the background. I know I'm on a building site at the moment, so I can't really do anything about that. And when I get this sort of bug to sort of write something down or maybe make a video, like in this case, I find that I really have to do it straight away, otherwise I only have to try and remember it, and I've lost the thread a bit by then. My memory's not that great in that regard. So I'm making this video here at work. You can see plaster shit behind me because I'm a plasterer by trade, and that's not the topic of the conversation today, of course. The topic of conversation going on in my mind today is to do with who's holding the big stick over society or members of society, and how that big stick is replicated in a hierarchical nature down the line through a punishment and reward system. So I've been having a place to stay for a few years now that I'm renting, and the person that has got the title deed to this area of land, which is, it's a cattle farm, beef cattle farm, and so the bloke that's got the title deed to the property regards himself as the owner of the land, and he regards himself as the landlord. Like supreme authority upon this land that he has been given a title to through the banking and government system of landlords. So we heard of the medieval ages in Europe where you had what has been called a feudal system. I don't know why it was ever called a feudal system. Maybe it's something to do with feuds, and because there's certainly been a lot of feudal behaviour. Anyway, you know, in the feudal system of medieval Europe, you had the head of state, which was the Roman Catholic Church. That's why it's called Christendom, as in kingdom, Christendom. The Holy Roman Empire, as it became called after the Vatican took over of the old Roman Empire. So you had all these lords and ladies, dukes and duchesses, and the whole aristocratic hierarchical structure, which was all predicated on this concept of owning, and yet only owning through the charity of the state, which was the Roman Catholic Church. So the ultimate authority was always what was the Pope, and it still is the Pope, because this feudal system certainly didn't end with the Middle Ages. The concept of land ownership continues to this day. The landlord system continues to this day, and people still have the same, who have these sticks in their hands, right? I'll punish you if you don't do what I tell you to do, and if you do what I tell you to do, I'll give you a little reward. And often that little reward was just basically a respite in punishment, because people have always in this system been punished really all of the time, beginning with the seizure of their ancestral lands by these colonial, empirical, conquesting people who were seeking to have a bit of land ordained by the Pope, and you know, the whole big shebang, the whole setup. And this is, oh, we get rich and we get, I don't know, we get money, and rich money. We get prestige. You know, we get to be a member of this society and that society, and we can hobnob it. We can have our cups of tea, all that sort of stuff. We can look down upon the people that are struggling to survive, and if those people are really lucky, we might actually give them a few handouts every now and then, just to basically to shut them up. Yeah, basically, you know, don't you know? You know, surely you know. Surely there's nobody with an average intelligence who hasn't become aware of this as an adult, at least. So you have a thing called a mortgage on your house, right? You have to get a loan. Because why do you have to get a loan? Because for a start, it's so exorbitantly expensive just to have somewhere to live. Oh, if you're a good boy, which means servant, by the way, a boy is a servant. Good boy, we'll let him have somewhere to live. Of course, we'll have to tax him, and we'll have to make sure that he, you know, keeps going to work, and you know, that he still works for the master, the Lord. But anyway, lords were given free rein to torture, to kill their servants, their boys, their peasants, at their own discretion. You, as a lord, you couldn't get into trouble for killing somebody that's slaving away on your, you know, working away on your own, the land that you've got, which is, of course, has been stolen. And you've appropriated it. Oh, through the proper channels, though, you know, under the rule of God, you know, under with the Pope's approval, all that artificial authorisation. So here we are in this day and age, 2023, moving close to 2024, which could be a very, very interesting year on a planetary sort of upstepping basis. It could be very interesting, but here we are in 2023 still having to put up with these this punishment reward system. Yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, all that sort of stuff. If you don't stand to attention and salute your lord, you get the whip, or worse, or you get evicted, cast out onto the street to if you're a woman, to become a prostitute in order to raise your children, or just to become a thief or a beggar. Australia was founded on beggars and thieves and prostitutes through the colonial system. You know, when all the people who'd been convicted of a crime, the crime often being as petty as the theft of a loaf of bread from the landlord's kitchen. Why did he thieve the bread? Well, because he was starving to death, basically, you know, or his children were starving to death. He'd feed his children before he'd feed himself. So they were all filling up the prisons in London, and Australia, oh great, penal colony, right, well send them by ship over to Australia, and of course that's what they did, and then you had convict labour and blah blah blah. So, situation. Here one is knowing about freedom, knowing about equity, equanimity, equal status on an equal playing field for every man, woman of any people in any part of the world, part of the planet. So while we've got this knowledge of those of us who have got this knowledge of what a real society will be, what it used to be and what it is going to return to, or not quite as it has been in the past, but I'm talking about the past, I'm talking about before the landlord systems, before, while people ancestors were still living on their ancestral lands and harvesting the trees that their great-great-grandparents had planted and all that sort of thing. We're going back to that, where there won't be kings, there won't be monarchs, there won't be queens, there won't be dukes, there won't be duchesses, there won't be lords and ladies and gentlemen, there won't be fraternities of Freemasons and whatever else. There won't be Judaism, which is, it's a big money club set up 3,000 years ago. Jews are not allowed to, according to their scriptures, they're not allowed to exact or make money off each other. They're only allowed to make money off everybody else, right? There's the money club. All that's got to go, right? Obviously. None of that is compatible with an equal playing field where everybody is subjected to the same laws of fair play, of equity. And those of us who are endeavouring to move into this world of equity, of fair play, of a level playing field, of respect for one another, of equal opportunity, those who are actually endeavouring to move into this world and still having to say pay rent, depend on somebody that's holding a big stick in some way, it can be quite tricky. And when you don't kowtow, lick their boots, when you don't bend over and let them shove it, homosexual, right, shove it up your ass, which was a practice of boss and slave, of hierarchy, pecking order. Certainly the Romans practiced buggery in this way to assert dominance. A general over a captain over a sergeant, all that sort of thing. Take it up the arse, mate. And they would actually fuck them up the arse, right? To humiliate them and put them in their place if they thought they were getting a bit out of their place, starting to have ideas of freedom or something, or that's not your prerogative, and all this stuff. So here we find ourselves, those of us who are in this situation, of basically being at the, I'd say mercy, but it's not really mercy, is it? Being vulnerable to the dictates of some lord who's got a whip or a stick hanging over your head, who in turn has a stick hanging over his head, blah, 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 up the line, down the line. They say, pass the buck, right? Pass the buck means you pass the shit on down the line. If you're not happy with it, pass the buck. If you don't like being fucked up the arse by me, well, go and fuck somebody up the arse yourself. Really. That's been the system. That's the landlord system. A few thousand years ago, it was called Baalism. B-A-A-L. Baal. So-called god Baal, or Bel, or Bull. That's what the name Belgrade and Belarus and Belfast and all these places from Bel or Baal was once upon a time was a sun god and a god of agriculture, but got turned into, appropriated by bad people at some stage and turned into an actual landlord system where Bel was the ultimate lord of the land, right? God of agriculture. That's the origins of the system that we're still having to put up with today. So it's a bit tricky, it can be. It's easy to get provoked by these people that are waving a stick at you and threatening to whack you with it, just because you don't lick their boots, do what you're told by them. So really, you've just got to cop it sweet. Can't fight against these people. And here, right, the days of fighting for survival, it just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't happen. I know in my life it just does not happen. I mean, I've inherited a lot of feisty, warmongering kind of history from my Scottish, in particular my Scottish roots, and you get really fired up. Somebody does something to hurt you or horrible to you, or a little bit horrible, or just treats you with disrespect, or not with the respect that you believe or insist that you must have. All of this has been going on for many long years, and all the clans of different parts of the world, the clans of the Red Man in North America, the clans of Ireland, the clan of Scotland, they're always fighting against each other. Finding offence. Oh, he did this to he said something, he looked at my sister askance, so I'm going to go and smash the fuck out of him, or something, Any excuse, basically, really. Any excuse just to, do shit, hurt. Increase one's own pain and misery and suffering because of this strange habit that we've become used to, the habit of being under duress, the habit of being in pain. No pain, no gain, all that stuff. Thinking that, you're not a respecter or you're not a real human being unless you've suffered. Really. I'll make a man out of you by giving you a whack over the head with a stick, or by just making your life really difficult. I'll take your money away through income tax, etc., etc. Well, a bit of a long-winded talk maybe. Hope I didn't go off the rails too far there. Just to sort of talk about this basic little concept that if you are trying to enter the kingdom of heaven on earth, or you've already begun to, and you're just coming up against this opposing force all the time of the system, of the Baalist system, the landlord system. I don't know if you can get legal protection for yourself. Maybe if you're really clever and got a penchant for that sort of thing, there's ways to achieve it perhaps. But the old adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Don't forget that one. That's pretty applicable. So really, mostly, we're just basically we're vulnerable. We're lambs, if you like, before the slaughter, as the saying goes. It's a precarious, a pre-caring situation, and you just never know when somebody's going to do some terrible thing to you or not. Just never know what's going to happen, because the world is full of these crazy, crazed people. Some of them are just completely diabolically sadistic and have no regard for anybody outside of their immediate circle of allies. Everyone else gets demonised. That's what you've seen this in world wars, with the propaganda of world wars, the propaganda against Germany that was pumped, the propaganda against the Japanese, the propaganda against the Americans and the English, and everybody's sort of pretty much been guilty, I suppose, of trying to demonise the opposition, except for maybe Adolf Hitler, who never did that. True. In fact, he decried it, and he refused to regard those who were opposing him as non-humans. He still had respect for the Polish. He still had respect for the Russian people. He still had respect for the English people. He didn't want to go to war against anybody. He was only fighting against the Marxist revolutionary movement, which was overtaking Europe first of all through the banking system, which was brought in by the Rothschild bloke in the 1700s. That wasn't the start of it, of course. Central banking system wasn't the start of it. I mean, years before that, the Knights Templar were the bankers of Europe. And then Napoleon Bonaparte came along, supported and powered by the Jesuits, and he tried to create a European Union which would be run by the central bank system, the European Union. It's all about landlords and taxation and banks and oppression, and not an equal playing field at all. Okay, thank you for listening if you've come this far. Bye for now, until next time.